20 years after its first release on the original PlayStation, Resident Evil remains the standard bearer for survival horror games. Looking at Resident Evil 0 HD, you can see how well that basic puzzles meets combat meets item management survival horror style has survived all of these years. The Resident Evil series is no stranger to branching out beyond that style though, and we're not talking about the revolutionary third-person combat we've seen in Resident Evil 4. There are also many examples of the Resident Evil series trying on very different types of gameplay over the years. Take a tour with us through the many Resident Evil games that do not play at all like Resident Evil. Resident Evil Gaiden was when the series tried to go to Game Boy Color. You play as Leon S. Kennedy, fresh from his Raccoon City police beat, and investigate a zombie-filled cruise ship called the Starlight in a third-person perspective that looks actually a lot better than it should on the primitive Game Boy Color. Things take a turn for the weird when you enter combat, and the game switches to a first-person mode where you gun down zombies by lining up a sliding Hot Shots golf-style reticle at the bottom of the screen. If you land the reticle dead center, it's a hole-in-one. Or a headshot, as the case may be. Resident Evil Confidential Report borrows much of the survival horror meets turn-based tactics Capcom nailed in Onimusha Tactics for the Game Boy Advance, but on mobile phones. Unlike Onimusha Tactics, though, Resident Evil Confidential Report is terrible. Players control one of two characters, rookie RPD officer Tyler or FBI agent Naomi, and uncover a plot that's more or less a remix of Resident Evil 2. You and the AI take turns shuffling characters around each room, pausing to attack each other if the other gets too close. Resident Evil Degeneration is actually a tie-in to the full CG Resident Evil movie of the same name. Unlike the movie, Degeneration the game was made for the ill-fated Nokia N-Gage handheld and later remade for iPhones and iPads. Leon returns in a behind-the-back perspective a la Resident Evil 4, but the modern point of view is complemented by crude character models straight off of the PlayStation 1. Resident Evil Survivor was the first Resident Evil that tried to speed things up by going the whole light gun route, but when the game came to the US, the light gun aspect was dropped. When you want to shoot an enemy in Survivor, you hit a button on the controller and then manually draw your crosshairs across the screen. Survivor feels like wading through the zombie apocalypse in waist-high molasses. Resident Evil Outbreak tried its damnedest to translate the classic survival horror style of the early aughts to online play, and the results are kind of mixed. While Outbreak pioneered both cooperative zombie killing and episodic gaming when it came to multiplayer for consoles, it was awkward and difficult to play. Idiosyncrasies like a tussle with an undead elephant in the Raccoon City Zoo, however, did inspire folks to keep Outbreak alive all these years later. There are still private servers running the game in Japan. Sweet Home is as much a part of the survival horror series DNA as any other game on this list. Developed by Capcom and released in 1989 on the Famicom, Sweet Home is a survival horror role-playing game that helped codify the entire genre. Think of it as a horror-filled version of Dragon Quest, whose creepy atmosphere, mansion setting, and grotesque monsters all served as inspiration for the original Resident Evil. Did you dig this video? Then follow GamesRadar on youtube.com/GamesRadar for more.